Australians can never trust Liberal, Labor or the Greens. They've sold out our country. How then will the United Australia Party save our country, save you from losing your home long term? Firstly, by dealing with the $1 trillion of debt head on, by implementing measures designed to protect the Australian economy and to impact the failures of the political class of Australians represented by the Liberal and Labor parties. Australian iron ore is supplying the boom in manufacturing in Asia, upon which the economies of Japan, Korea and China and the rest of Asia depend. Asia is reliant on Australian iron ore. Without it, Asian economies cannot function. That's the reality. Tens of trillions of dollars has been invested in China, Japan and Korea based on the supply of Australian iron ore. Their supply chain and the prosperity of their people, tens and hundreds of millions of them, depend upon receiving exports of Australian iron ore and are linked to our country. Australia has become a quarry upon which Asia and Asian countries base their prosperity. This becomes apparent when we consider the iron ore market supplies over 75% of the Asian market. And all of those exports that you see from China that go to the United States, that go to Europe, all come and all start in this country. South American infrastructure and production cannot be expanded from what it currently is. And infrastructure in Africa is a nightmare. Australia is the dominant and only supplier of iron ore growth to Asian economies and is at the bottom of the food chain. While Asian economies expand and benefit from low-priced Australian iron ore and use their financial clout to punish this country when they know how vulnerable their economies are to Australia, but when our politicians lack the courage needed to protect and defend our country and to get the best bargain for our citizens, we know we need to act. Australia must act now to save our country from catastrophe that's about to destroy our economic prosperity and the security of our families. In the 1960s, the Australian government had an export licence on our iron ore. Many nations in Asia, such as Indonesia, have in recent times introduced export licences for their nickel and other resources, as the growth of world trade and the accelerations of export has required their national interests to be protected so that they ensure that their interests are preserved. The United Australia Party will introduce a 15% export licence for all iron ore exports from this country and will pledge the proceeds from that licence to be used for the retirement of the $1 trillion mountain of debt that Australia faces. So immediately when those measures are taken, that goes on our balance sheet, if you like, that we've got a way of repaying our debt from revenue coming from our export licence, and that can be calculated.